Welcome to this EHCP workshop. This presentation is designed and delivered by the Bernardo's Sendias team in Bradford. Here is our team. We have Debbie, our team manager, Imogen, who is a caseworker, Jocelyn is also a caseworker, Heidi is also a caseworker, Humera is a participation and engagement worker alongside being a caseworker, and Fazana is also a caseworker. The aims and objectives of this workshop is to introduce and inform you about educational healthcare plans. By the end of this workshop, you will have increased knowledge and understanding of EHCPs and Sendias. As you now know, there are 5 caseworkers on the Sendias team at Bradford. Between the 5 of us, we have experience in teaching, learning support, social care, the advice sector and youth work. We have all undergone extensive training from both the Council for Disabled Children and the Independent Parental Special Education Advice Organisation, also known as IPSE. We are all committed to securing the best outcomes for children and young people through the work that we do with them and their parents. Bradford Sendias offers impartial information, advice and support to families of children and young people with special educational needs or disabilities in the Bradford area. We support parents and carers and young people. The service is statutory. This means every local authority has to have a service like ours. We are funded by the Disabled Children's Council, the local authority and Bernardo's. The service is impartial, confidential, accessible and free, and can help with a range of subjects including... Next slide please. Transport, SEN support, provision, admissions, EHCPs, exclusion and annual reviews. So how can we help? We can provide you with impartial information and advice on a range of topics related to SEND. We can explain the legal framework around SEND, including rights and responsibilities. We can explain and talk you through local and national SEND processes, including appeals. We can help you to make informed decisions and plan your next steps. We can signpost you to further sources of information and support. We provide training workshops for parents and carers, and we can help you and your child or young person to contribute to decision making and have your voice heard through providing accurate information, advice and support. And we can liaise across a range of agencies to provide person-centred support. We can support young people on a one-to-one basis alongside or independently from parents or carers. This is our offer to children and young people. We can help you to prepare for meetings in school or college. We can attend meetings with you in school or college. We can listen to you and help you put your views and opinions together and get these across. We can help you to understand documents and fill them out. We can help you to find the answers to problems you might be having in school or college. The majority of inquiries will be dealt with through our duty service. You can call back through duty as often as you need to. Parents and carers receive a call back or an email response within 3 to 5 working days to discuss your concern and offer information, advice and next steps. We may follow this up with information sheets, workshop sessions or make an appointment to help you with a form, for example. A small percentage of cases will be allocated an individual worker for more complex casework support. This is targeted at the most vulnerable families and there is currently a waiting list for this support. And now we will begin our EHCP workshop. What is an education, health and care plan? An education health and care plan describes your child's special educational needs and the help they will get to meet them. It is a legal document written by the local authority and is intended to ensure that children and young people with an EHCP receive the support they need. The child's SEN support and the matrix of needs is consulted when deciding if an assessment for EHCP is required. Not all children and young people require an EHCP, and we will discuss that now. EHCPs are for children and young people who have a special educational need or disability that cannot be met by the support that is available at their school or college. Most children and young people with special educational needs will have help given to them without the need for an EHCP. This is called SEN support. The purpose of SEN support is to help children achieve the outcomes or learning objectives that have been set for them. Some children and young people may not make the progress expected of them even with this help. So what happens then? Assessments may be carried out by school and evidence is collected. School or parents can request the LA to assess the child for an EHCP. The LA then decides whether to carry out an EHC needs assessment. Once the assessment is complete, the local authority will either issue a draft EHCP or refuse to issue the EHCP for that child. This all depends on the outcome of the assessments. So what should this plan be about? The SEN Code of Practice says that EHCPs should be based on decisions made openly and with parents, children and young people. Describe what the child or young person can do. It should be clear, concise, understandable and accessible. It should consider how best to achieve the outcomes for the child or young person. They must take into account the evidence from the EHC needs assessment. It must specify clear outcomes. And it should consider alternative ways of providing support if a parent or young person wishes it. This could include having a personal budget. The plan should also show how education, health and care provision will be coordinated. It should be forward-looking. For example, anticipating, planning and commissioning for important transition points in a child or young person's life. It should describe how informal support as well as formal support from statutory agencies can help in achieving agreed outcomes. It should have a review date. There is a full list of principles and requirements in the SEN Code of Practice, section 9.61. As you can see, every EHCP must have 12 sections and the local authority decides how to set these out. The sections are A. The views, interests and aspirations of you and your child or young person. B. The child or young person's special educational needs. C. Health needs relating to their SEN or a disability. D. Social care needs relating to their SEN or to a disability. E. Planned outcomes for your child or the young person. And F. Special educational provision. Provision must be specified for each and every need shown in section B. G. Any health provision required that is related to their SEN or to a disability. H1. Any social care provision that must be made for your child or young person under 18. H2. Any other social care provision required that is related to their SEN or to a disability. I. The name and type of school, maintained nursery school, post-16 institution or other institution to be attended. J. Details of how any personal budget will support particular outcomes and the provision it will be used for. And K. The advice and information gathered during the EHC needs assessment. So what does the EHCP process look like? There is a low legal threshold for the local authority to carry out an assessment. The process should take 20 weeks to complete. At the moment they are taking longer in Bradford. This is due to issues with an increase in requests for EHCP assessments. There is also an increase in the number of families going to mediation or tribunal. The local authority must decide by week 6 if a needs assessment will be carried out, and the advice from relevant professionals must have been submitted by this time. If the local authority refuses to assess, you should consider mediation and then go to appeal. If you go to mediation, you may be accepted for an assessment, but if not, you can still go to appeal. If the local authority agrees to assess, they must inform you of their decision to the EHCP by week 16. They may also decide at this stage that an EHCP is not required. If this happens, you can enter mediation again and then appeal. If a plan is to be issued, it should be finalised by week 20. Draft plans. A draft EHCP must not name a particular type of setting or school in Section I. They may not necessarily indicate the level of funding attached to the plan. Draft plans will be forwarded to the current setting and any indicated parents or young person. This is to establish if the setting can meet the needs that are outlined in the EHCP. Schools then have 15 days to respond. The local authority may direct schools or academies to take the child or young person. Schools saying "we are full" is not a reason to refuse to admit a young person with a plan. Personal budgets can only be requested when a plan is being reviewed. They can be used to pay for specific providers or resources to deliver a need identified within the EHCP. The cost would be deducted from the overall funding attached to the EHCP. There sometimes is confusion about who pays for what services within an EHCP. If the provision provides education or training, education are responsible. If the provision does not provide education or training, it is the health or social care that are responsible. And now we move on to the final plan. New plans should be reviewed after 6 months. All EHCPs must be reviewed at least annually. Parents or young people can call an interim review at any time if the placement is not working or there is a new diagnosis. A review must be called if schools say they can no longer meet the needs of the young person, or parents or young person request a change of placement. Professionals involved may be asked to produce updated advice on this. And now we're going to look at the definition of these 3 terms: special educational needs, outcomes and provision. Special educational needs. These are the needs that should describe the areas that a young person or child struggles with that are different from or additional to those of most students of the same age. Outcomes. The outcomes are the desired changes that will come about with additional support, resources, adaptations made or given to a young person. And the provision. This is a description of what changes, adaptations or additional resources are made available to a young person to support identified needs. These need to be smart rather than vague or woolly. And now we will complete this activity. At the top of the screen there are 3 titles: Needs, Outcomes and Provision. The 9 statements at the bottom of the screen need to be matched up to the correct title. You may want to discuss these and record your answers before I move on. Pause here and have a go. Let's look at the answers, starting with number 1, to correctly pronounce speech sounds. Number 1 is an outcome. Number 2, a speech and language programme geared to the child or young person's needs. Number 2 is a provision. Number 3, to access a specialist teacher. Number 3 is also a provision. Number 4, to use a wider range of communication methods. Number 4 is an outcome. Number 5, X has a diagnosis of autism. Number 5 is a need. Number 6, X struggles to cope in large groups. Number 6 is also a need. Number 7, to enjoy learning and leisure activities. Number 7 is an outcome. Number 8, opportunities to interact with other young people. Number 8 is a provision. And number 9, special chromatic glasses. Number 9 is also a provision. We support parents or young people alongside the appeals process, but we rarely attend the tribunal itself. We are advisors, not legal representatives. We can signpost you to some options for representation if you feel that is needed, or it may be appropriate for a friend or family member to attend if you are looking for moral support. We would attend meetings between the local authority and the parents and young people to try to resolve issues before the tribunal date. The judge may instruct the parent and the local authority to meet to rewrite the EHCP prior to tribunal. What can a parent or young person appeal against? If the local authority refuses to carry out an EHC needs assessment. If the local authority refuses to issue an EHCP after an assessment has taken place. If the local authority have refused to amend an EHCP following reassessment or review. You can also appeal of Section B, Section F and Section I. Section B is a description of needs, Section F is a description of the provision, and Section I is the type of placement or setting. You must appeal within 2 months of the date on the letter from the local authority which outlines their decision, or within 1 month after the date of the mediation certificate, whichever is later. There are sometimes issues with appeals. If the local authority does not issue a letter outlining their decision, the parent or young person has no right of appeal. And if a parent or young person does not receive the letter from the local authority, then they may miss the deadline to appeal. Here is some information for if you do decide to go through with the mediation. Mediation is normally held at a neutral venue, although more recently these have been held virtually. Actions agreed at mediation are as if they are ordered by the SEND tribunal, so they must be complied with. And some actions are given to parties who did not attend mediation. Locally, collis mediation is used by the local authority. Collis mediation can also arrange disagreement resolution between parents, young people and schools. And mediation is free to parents and young people. Jargon buster. See if you can match up the list on the left to the definitions on the right. Pause here, you might want to write them down and then we'll go through them together. Okay, let's go through them. MSP is My Support Plan. SEN is Special Educational Needs. EHCP Education, Health and Care Plan or Assessment. SEN Register, a register in which school will place your child on to ensure their needs can be met and their provision is monitored. COP, Code of Practice. IEP or ILP, Individual Educational Learning Plan. SENCO, this is a person in school called a Special Educational Needs Coordinator. QFT is Quality First Teaching offered by school. Differentiate are ways a child's learning can be adapted to meet their needs, and the graduated approach are steps that can be taken to meet your child's needs. If you have any more questions about EHCPs or tribunals, feel free to contact us on 01274 513 300. Alternatively, you can email us at bredfordsendias@bernardos.org.uk. Thank you.